is the Elsa Kurt Show.
Oh, hey, hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my goodness, Clay is so tolerant. He's so tolerant. You're so patient with me. I just, I came right off the bat discombobulated and a little bit of a mess over here. And Clay's just like, no worries. It's all good. So thank you for that. How are you?
I'm doing good. When women change their hairstyle,
Uh-huh.
that's a big deal.
It is.
Put on a different hat for the first time in 3 years. And like for a guy who's a hat guy, it's that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. And, so I always joke about my lack of awareness that I'm like the most unobservant person. And this confirms it. Didn't even notice, Clay. Didn't even notice. I am like, I'm a guy, right? Like, how they always say like the guys never notice the haircut or the hair color change and whatever. Yep. I am just as bad as a guy. I really can't. I can't even. It's a very nice hat. I like it. I think it looks great.
My old hat was that I worn on every show we've ever done.
Yep.
Was from my first book, Keep Moving, Keep Shooting. It was a logo hat, and I've been wearing it for 3 years, and it's really gross and disgusting and has its own smell and all of those things. And so I decided to get a new hat made. So I, did this. That's the title of the third book. And so
I love it.
New hat.
I love it. I think it's going to be very pleasing to that one guy in the comment section who obsesses over what you're wearing all the time.
There is a guy.
There is a guy. He's like a, I don't know if I'd call him a super fan, but he's super interested in what you're wearing. It's like, dude, it's gonna be another one that loses his man card. Like, don't worry less about what somebody's wearing, dude. Like, especially another guy. Like, calm yourself.
Worry about stuff like Iran or the Clinton testimony or even Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah, exactly. Plenty of things to worry about. Clay, let's give you a little hint. Here we go, talking about what's going to be on the show. Take a listen, and then we'll get started.
Tonight on the show, bombs bursting over Iran as America and Israel take down a tyrant. How did we get here, and what's next? Then, a tragic shooting in Austin raises red flags about terror ties. The Clintons face the music on Epstein, finally. And Megan Rapinoe mouths off again, proving some folks never learn. Join Elsa and Clay for the facts, the fury, and a few laughs along the way.
Oh, we've got it all. We've got it all. That's how we roll, right? So first off, Clay, as you well know, I'm going to be, pretty much handing this right over to you. But before I do, I'm going to do a couple things here. One, I'm going to give everybody just kind of the quick rundown, and Clay's going to go deeper into this and give some of the insights. And before I even do either of those things, I'm going to send a little message to certain people in our comment section. And I know this, I feel like I'm turning this into the comment section entire show, but it ties in. And I was thinking about this morning, and my blood was already starting to like pre-boil because there's always that dude in the comment section. He usually says things like dude, who says something like, who's this guy? What does he know? Right. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Clay, and anybody who's been right. And I'm going to give you, and listen, Clay is the last person that needs me to defend him, to step up for him. He is a big boy and he can handle y'all just fine. But I am going to do it anyway. So help me God, guys, really. Like, if you come in with the, what does this guy know? I'm just going to politely suggest to you that you shut your mouth, go to his website and take a look, because please don't come in here and talk to me or any of us about what a combat military veteran of, I'm sorry, how many tours? 5?
5, yeah.
5. Yeah. Don't do it. You're just going to, listen, you know what? Do it. I take back that. Please do. Give me a reason. Give me a reason to unleash, because I will, because I will not tolerate. So there's just a little bit of, I'm very, very, my husband is a Marine Gulf War veteran. You are my other veteran here. I am highly protective of what you guys have done. So if somebody comes in, you're forewarned. You're forewarned. It's going to be a bloodbath. So just saying. Okay, good. We're good. And yes, I know you don't need me to do that, but it's the way it is. All right. So now back down to the business. So for any of you that doesn't know, back in late February, we're like end of the month, U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury. They dropped nearly 900 bombs on Iran's top leaders, military spots, nuclear plants, and missile bases. Key guys like Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, did I say it right?
Yep.
Thank you. And some revolutionary guard bosses got taken out. Trump calls it a must-do to stop Iran from attacking the U.S. What else? So that's kind of the gist of it. Now, obviously, there is a great deal of division within the right specter as to just opinions. And on one side, and I know we'll go into all of that. I want you to obviously do your part here. But I definitely want to talk about those two very different factions. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it. And then I'll give my super amateur opinions on it, which may change based on what I hear you say. So give them the info, Clay.
Okay. So like you said, 28th of February, started Operation Epic Fury, which truthfully, I think is it's a terrible operational name. It is.
Sounds like a movie.
Oh, there's some salesmanship that goes into it. If you've ever been in a room and you're pitching an operation to a big boss, whether it's a 3-4 star, service chief or the president of the United States, there's some salesmanship that goes in. And I'm sure the name Epic Fury was part of that salesmanship, but it is what it is. So, this is a very different operation than Venezuela, which wasn't that long ago. Venezuela was a very, very precision, special operations oriented, essentially snatch operation that put, boots on the ground and for a very specific reason for a very short period of time. That's not what this is. Operation Epic Fury, like you said, was the United States and Israel, specifically the U.S. Air Force and Navy, along with Israel, conducting precision airstrikes all across, Iran for various reasons. They targeted, like you said, the focus of this was to destroy leadership. It's not even to remove or and I know regime change is at the end of this, but you can't do that without removing leadership. And so targeted leadership. And then destroying nuclear capabilities. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, a year ago, they told us that they did that already. Well, okay. Did what countries do. They dusted themselves off after us, Israel, and bombed crap out of them and destroyed their nuclear facility. And they started over somewhere else. Right. They didn't lose the knowledge. They lost, facilities and some capabilities, but they picked themselves up and they kept moving forward. So, we targeted nuclear facilities, nuclear development, research facilities. We targeted their Navy. We targeted their Air Force, which both have been essentially eliminated. And then also, we have to remember that Iran is the #1 supporter of terror in the world. State-sponsored terror, okay? IRGC, which we talk about, is essentially their Special Operations Command, and they are the ones who've been funding, feeding, arming Hamas, Hezbollah, and all these other, terrible terror factions around the world. Okay. So
let me just interject too that, for all of them, their slogan is death to America.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, and that is, it's been that way for, decades. And it's undeniable. So, so we did in partnership with Israel, we flew in, conducted airstrikes. We conducted missile strikes. There were some naval attacks. In fact, I saw today, I don't know if you've seen, we had the first submarine torpedo sinking of a vessel since World War II.
Really? I did not see that.
Yep. U.S. submarine rolled in, punched out a torpedo, sank an Iranian naval vessel, which is the first time that's happened in 80 years, which is pretty awesome. The Navy is like, this is a great.
Yeah.
But so we did that. And in the first 24 hours, significant damage, right? We killed the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader, along with about 40 different other key leaders within their government. Cycle 24 hours. They again did what countries do. They put second tier folks in. Hey, you replace him. Hey, you replace him.
Right.
We flew in again and we killed them. Literally, the first replacement for the Ayatollah was in the seat for less than 24 hours, and he got killed too. So again, the focus continues to be on removing leadership and removing capabilities within Iran. Now, their response was to hate everybody. They unleashed on the entire region. I actually have the list here, and some of this is amazing. So they were not only targeting the U.S., they were targeting friends of the U.S., they were targeting, obviously, Israel.
Of course.
But some of this was just unleashing hate in general. So they launched attacks into Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Cyprus, for crying out loud, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan. Okay. And it was everything from drones to missiles to they put aircraft in the air to all kinds of things. So they unleashed what they had available and continue to do at opportunity. Now, listen, unfortunately, when we embark on these things, there are inevitably going to be casualties. And unfortunately, that has happened thus far. We've had 6 American service members killed. They were from the 103rd Sustainment Command, which was a U.S. Army Reserve unit out of Des Moines, Iowa. And, those service members, initially it was reported as 4. There were some folks who were missing that they found later on and then confirmed them dead as well. So, unfortunately, there have been 6 American service members killed in action. Obviously, our hearts, my heart especially, goes out to them, to their family, to their unit who still has to do their job and continue on. A tough thing to do at times, but that did happen. Now, we also had a mistake by the Kuwaitis who shot down 3 U.S. F-15E Strike Eagles, which are a crew of 2. Thankfully, none of those 6 air crew members, pilot and I think they're called an intercept officer, the backseater in the aircraft. They were all ejected. They were all recovered. In fact, there's some great footage.
I saw that.
A young woman who landed in Kuwait, and 3 Kuwaitis ran up to her, and grabbed her and took selfies in the whole 9 yards. And they were so thankful for everything she'd done. So thankfully, again, the loss of 3 aircraft, but we still have the 3 air crews, and they're okay. Now, all of that being said, people are wondering beyond the surface if there is a reason why we're doing this. Again, the question of, well, didn't we destroy their nuclear capability a year ago? Yes, but they continue to build, and they're not taking the hint. And
they never will. They never will.
It's never stopping. They've found and determined to be a nuclear power, a nuclear threat to civilized society, to the Western world, and any non-Muslim country. So there's that. And so this is a long time coming, folks. I mean, Iran has been responsible for the death of Americans going back as far back as, 1983, the Beirut bombing, right? That's state-sponsored terrorism. Iranians were directly responsible. You can move all the way forward into, the war in Iraq, when we were there from, 2003 to whenever it was we left, 2013-ish. In mass numbers, and then obviously we've been there for a long time afterwards.
Right.
People think that was just a war in Iraq, but it was a war against terrorists, and those terrorists were being funded and equipped with specific capabilities that we know came from Iran. So they've been killing Americans for a long time, and they're not going to stop.
No.
So, why did we do this? And it really is because every effort, stupid effort in many cases, at diplomacy has failed. Right. President Obama gave them billions of dollars.
Billions.
And if you haven't seen it, there's a great quote. There's actually a film clip of Senator Marco Rubio predicting exactly what was going to happen after that money was given to Iran. I think it's circa 2013-ish, I think. But if you go to his social media, Marco Rubio's social media, it's there, and you can find it. And it's a great clip because he says they're going to take this money. They're going to pursue nuclear power. They're going to continue to fund terrorism. They're going to do, and he lays everything out, and it all came true because he is that good. Is this, was this inevitable? Yes. Was it the right time to do it? I believe so. And I think it's been, I know it's been a long time coming, and it's probably overdue in many cases.
Right.
But I will tell you the things that people are not grasping. You know, the people that you and I have been talking about, like all the people with the "I support Ukraine" and the blue and yellow flags in the front yard.
Oh, yeah.
They're the same people who are upset because we attacked Iran.
Yeah.
Right. Same group of folks. It's the white suburban. Listen, it's the white suburban females. Let's be honest. Okay. It's the white suburban female Democrats.
Yeah.
What they don't realize, because they're all surface level and they don't do any research, is that Iran is has been the number one supplier of drones to Russia that they have been using to kill and execute war on Ukraine. Right. And when I say number one, 52,000 drones from Iran to Russia. So if you,
I guarantee they're oblivious of any of that.
If you support Ukraine, be ultimately happy about us taking Iran out of the equation.
Right.
Because that takes the drone warfare by the Russians essentially off the table or significantly cripples it.
Right.
So there's that, right? There's also the fact that the two greatest oil exporters to China happen to be Iran and Venezuela.
Well, how about that?
Have lost that capability in the last 60 days. So if you think that President Trump isn't playing 4D chess, you're crazy.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's doing. Exactly.
He absolutely does.
And so, and on top of that, there's been a couple of other forced functions that have come along in this. We've had some pushback from nations like England and most recently Spain. Okay. The UK said we can't use any of their bases to prosecute this operation. And then all of a sudden a missile landed, an Iranian, either a drone or a missile landed on Cyprus on a British base. And then all of a sudden they were on board.
Yeah.
The Spaniards told us, you can't do this out of Rota, Spain, which we've had an air base in Rota, Spain forever. And suddenly their president said, you can't do this. And President Trump said, okay, you're the one nation who hasn't contributed to NATO, that the 5% that everybody else is on board with. I'm just going to stop all trade. Right.
Yeah.
He wants straight economic.
He does not play.
He wants straight economic on him. Yeah. And in less than 24 hours, guess who's back on board?
Yeah.
Spain.
How about that? That? Yeah.
And then, kind of lastly, the thing that most people also didn't realize is that, with the Iranian Navy out of the way, there was a pileup of oil tankers in the Straits of Hormuz, right? Being somewhat harassed. There was no real protection, blah, 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 blah. Well, as soon as we attacked Iran, Lloyd's of London, who is the number one maritime insurance dealer in the world, they started either canceling policies or jacking rates to 4 or 5 times what people had been paying for maritime insurance. What did President Trump do?
What did he do?
He stepped in and he said, we will escort those oil tankers. We will take on insuring them, and we will make sure that they move smoothly and safely through the Straits of Hormuz. Now, people will look at that and they say, oh, well, that's just economic move. He's trying to blah, 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 blah. Well, if we secure them and we're providing naval escort and we're providing the insurance, you know what else we get to do? Inspect them. We get to board them. We get to look and see what's on them and who's operating them. Again, folks, this is 4D chess.
Yeah.
He is so far ahead of everybody. It's not even funny.
Yeah. That's where I get so aggravated too when you hear, just every Joe Schmo and Susie Smarty Pants spouting off on social media like they know anything. Like, I'll give myself this one credit. If I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I keep my mouth shut. And I've actually kept my mouth pretty much shut on this whole thing because I'm honestly in the, I mentioned at the top of this, talking about the divide within the right, the conservatives on this. And, so I'm in the listening to both perspectives. And the one thing that keeps shining through is that all of the people that I hear spouting opinions, because that's what they are, they don't have the inside information. And I know that they don't have the inside information. And I'm even talking about your Marjorie Taylor Greenes, who's been spouting off about this, her opinion on this. And, even listening to her, listen, I know she's boxed out. You're boxed out, lady. You're not in on these meetings. You're not in on any of this stuff. And, you've kind of aligned yourself with this, anti-Israel faction that, anything that has to do with Israel, you're against it, or, so I'm having a hard time listening to her. And, her big thing, correct me if I'm wrong, her big thing is like the whole America first. This is, that's what you keep saying. This is not what I signed on for. I signed on for this because I believe in America first, America first. And I read somebody else say a quote that really stuck out to me. And it's, America first doesn't mean America only.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me, so if I'm going to lean somewhere, I feel that I'm going to lean with it. I feel like I'm going to lean with that. Like, just because we're America first, we're not America only. Right. And this is actually based on everything that you've said, everything that I've read. This is American interests we're talking about, like American lives. These, thanks to Biden and Obama before him, letting all of these illegals in, this isn't just people from Mexico and wherever else. There are actual sleeper cells all across this country that we know darn well, if you have any sense of anything, of course they're either monitoring the ones that they know or actively seeking out the ones that they have suspicions of. So, I mean, they're here, and these are people who believe that it's an honor to die for what they believe. And what they believe is, again, back to the top of this, death to America and Americans. So we've seen enough incidents already that we should get this. We really should be getting this at this point, that we're not playing by the same rules. We're not playing by the same moral, ethical, humane standards. You are fighting against people who are very happy and thrilled to kill their own. And the irony, of course, is we're talking about, you mentioned the suburban white liberals who are outraged by this. And, how infuriating is that when we're talking about Iranian people who have been so brutally oppressed and tortured and killed simply for being female, simply for being gay. They're getting stoned. They're getting thrown off of rooftops. They're getting beaten. Children. These are people that you should not be championing, like not even remotely. I will say, I'm catching things from Matt Walsh, who's been vocal. However, I will say I think he is at least offering a voice of questioning reserve. I think he's kind of playing. I think he's standing on the line. He's questioning everything. He's standing on the line. He's not really. I don't think he's really making like a big strong stand. So I guess you could kind of say to that, like, well, you got to stand somewhere, right? Like if you're going to open your mouth and talk about this. But I don't know. I personally at least respect that it's with reserve. It's questioning and reserved and trying, seemingly at least trying to understand before he makes that big leap, which I guess is kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not making this big leap of an opinion because I'm simply not qualified to. I'm just not, Yeah.
If I would tell you, if you're on the fence,
yeah,
right, and you really are on the fence, take a look at how Iranian Americans are responding to this.
Yes, that's such a perfect example, Clay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you're wondering if this was the right thing to do, or if this, and listen, you brought up all the things, right? All the things that are happening in Iran.
Right.
This is, that I hate to say it, but the handbook that they all reach for, that white suburban liberal, they all reach for the Handmaid's Tale. Right.
Oh, yeah. Right for it.
And President Trump was going to turn this into the handmaid, blah, 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 blah. That Iran is that. Iran is that.
Just go back and watch those videos of 1979 Iran,
And then, pre-fall of Iran, like when the Shah, was there. And now, and then when they install the Ayatollah in 79, right? Look at the difference, right?
Yeah.
And then you tell me, all of those people who are so afraid that President Trump is going to turn the United States in the Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, he literally just liberated these people.
He liberated the Handmaid's Tale. That's
literally
exactly what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't know or don't understand or don't know how to feel, watch those Iranian Americans. Watch the chanting. And listen, this is not death to America chanting. This is, go President Trump in places like Los Angeles. In, I mean, in the bluest of blue places, you have people celebrating this because their families, their friends, their loved ones who are still in Iran have been under the thumb in this thing, and they have been tortured and killed and jailed and all of these other things.
Right.
And so if you don't know how to feel, look at that. I would tell you that if your natural reaction, and I don't know if you've seen this, I've seen it and it irritates the crap out of me, is the well, when's Barron Trump gonna sign up? When's he gonna go over there? Okay, shut up.
Just shut up.
Seriously.
Just shut up.
First things first, I will tell you this, and good for him. Barron Trump is 6'9".
Yeah.
He can't serve. He can't.
Right. He can't even.
He's over the maximum height for all 4 services.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Is there a waiver? Sure, maybe. But stop it. Right. Second of all, for those of you that are saying that, and I was in Afghanistan when Prince Harry was there the first time, when the press didn't know he was there. And then they found out he was there and they outed him. Yeah. And I will tell you, if you think that that's a good idea for someone like that, a leader's, offspring to serve, I will
might
tell
as well
you
have a target on you.
And not just on that person, on everyone around them. Okay. Yes. So if you really want him to desperately serve that much, then you are essentially, condemning or putting at elevated risk everybody who's anywhere near him. Yeah. So you don't truthfully care about the troops because you wouldn't want that person there. Okay. But it's just, that is the lashing out of the irrational people who, that's what they feel. And because they can't control their emotions or have rational thoughts, that's their response. Right. And it is what it is. And we're never going to stop those people from acting like that, from saying stupid things like that because they don't think. But this is where we are. It just is. And so, listen, I'm far from a war hawk, folks. I really am. I did more than my time. I did my time and some other folks' time, but this was the right thing to do at the right time. It is. And you know me, I've never been a fan of Secretary Hegseth. No, he's handling this very, very well. Yeah, we
actually have his statement there. I'm going to play that because I actually want to hear your opinions on what he had to say. So here's that.
Yeah. The 2 most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders, flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right. And that was the whole purpose of eliminating their Air Force, eliminating their Navy, right? And so we operated that way in Iraq and Afghanistan essentially the entire time. And so when you do that, when you can control the sky, as he's describing, then you have freedom to do essentially whatever it is that you want to do. And so, again, a great briefing. I'm not fond of the name. I am also not fond. He had a press conference, I think it was today, where he talked about eliminating this, small assassin organization that has been targeting President Trump. President Trump didn't ask for it. President Trump didn't know they were on the targeting list. President Trump, it was all the Department of War, Department of Defense that did it. And they prosecuted their targets in order. In other words, they stuck with the leadership and the capabilities. And eventually they got down to the point where they're like, okay, well, let's get rid of these guys too. Listen, leave that out.
Right.
Leave it out. Because no matter what you say, when you say that, the American media looks at that and they go, oh, well, Trump made it personal. And by the way, Secretary Hegseth said, oh, President Trump got the last laugh. again, leave it out. It sounds
Right.
sophomoric.
Unnecessary.
It sounds it sounds rookie is what it sounds like. The other part of this that truthfully I understand the why. The optics of Israel participating in this immediately changes this from regime change, from overthrow, from give the Iranian people the opportunity to govern themselves. It gives it a different optic, and it gives it a very religious optic. It turns it into, Jewish versus Muslim, Israeli versus Muslim. I would have preferred, and Israel's got more of an interest in this than probably anybody but us because they're local.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And they are threatened by Iran and by their proxies.
Right.
Hamas and Hezbollah and all these other places. Right. And so they have a vested interest, and I understand why they participated. I just think it clouds the optics of the why we're doing this.
Sure.
And it just gives it a little bit of a tainted look to me.
Sure.
But they did it, and I understand why. So it is what it is. There's some other folks joining in. So we've got the Iraqi Kurds are now moving into northern Iran. That just started a few hours ago.
Wow.
You've also got who was it? I think in Syria, in Lebanon, they just told the army to start dismantling Hezbollah.
Wow.
Right. So now it's expanding in the region. Right. Everything that Iran had its fingers in before is now subject to being destroyed. So it's a very interesting time, and it's not stopping anytime soon.
No, and I don't think there is, once you start it properly, which is, in my opinion, what is happening. It has to spread, because that's, this regime. I mean, you can't even call it regime, right? Because there's so many different factions, and you get rid of one, another one pops up to take its place. And that's what they do. This is what they've done for, I don't know, centuries, I guess. So the only way you can do it is to squash them all. Like you have to, unless you want to keep doing this forever, which is what we have been doing. It's been forever. I mean, you mentioned biblical times. I mean, this truly is, if you're of that mindset, which you can't help but be, honestly, because biblical stuff is historical stuff. So it is all very, very, very tied together. We're actually in church, we're actually studying Nehemiah, and it's so fascinating. Our pastor actually drew some really, really interesting parallels between Nehemiah and what's happening now. And it's fascinating. So if you guys want to do a really great study, that's the one to do right now. But yeah, I can only, because, my military knowledge, all of those type of things are so lacking. I really, like I said before, I can only go with the humanitarian angle. If you are if you claim to be a humanitarian, if you claim to care about humans, and if you watch, and I watched, the other night, I don't know why I did that to myself, but I watched just video after video after video of these Iranian, particularly women, marching. And if you watch those marches of them, ripping off their garments, their hijabs, and all of that, and crying, it's so emotional. And if you don't feel anything for these people, if you don't care about the just devastating level of oppression that they lived under, and terror, fear, daily, I don't know. You really don't get to call yourself a humanitarian, I don't think. So if you're going to, wave that banner around and say that you care about women and you care about freedom and all of those things, you can't possibly watch those videos and not feel any sense of obligation, I think, to do something. If you can do something, I mean, they're always crying, do something, you got to do something about this, and championing some cause, like you said, Ukraine, wearing all your Ukraine flags and putting them in your profile pictures, and you care so much about those people, so you claim, so why don't you care about these people? Why is that different? Oh, I know why, because President Trump, his administration is doing the things.
Hey, let's talk very briefly about the reaction of our left-leaning politicians.
Yes, yeah.
And the claims that this is an illegal or unconstitutional war or action by President Trump.
Right.
Okay?
Nope.
So for all of those sitting in office that are making these claims, AOC, right? She was one that was like,
Yeah.
President Trump didn't ask me. He didn't ask my permit. He doesn't have to. Okay.
Doesn't
It's
have
called
to.
the War Powers Act. Look it up.
Mhm.
All right. Also, the United States, and I can count, it'll take me two hands, but I can count a whole bunch of conflicts that we've been involved in since the last time we declared war in World War II.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't declared war since then. It's been 80 years. Okay. So, but we've been involved in, let's see, Korea and Vietnam and Central America multiple times, and keep Africa and Iraq twice, and Afghanistan and all these other places. Never once declared war. But again, because President Trump is in office and because he's taking action, people are worked up about this.
Right.
Listen, folks, Congress has the power to declare war. We have not declared war. The president, under the War Powers Act, has 60 days to do military action, and he doesn't have to say jack to Congress. Okay.
Right.
And that's how it works legally. So for all of them that keep saying this out loud, you should, as much as you want to be on their side, you should be appalled at how stupid they are and how ignorant of our own Constitution they are, because that's exactly what this is. And these are the people that you elected. If you're on their side and you agree with them and you voted for them, you should be ashamed of them and you for electing somebody so damn dumb.
Yeah.
And then the last piece, and kind of transitioning topics. Sure. I've been asked a whole bunch of times about sleeper cells here in the United States, what I know, my expectations, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, folks, I can tell you, are there sleeper cells here can I say that with confidence? Yes, I can. Can I tell you how many there are? No, I can't. But I can tell you, in post 1989, when the wall fell, when there were Soviet sleeper cells here that had been here for a long time, do you know what all of them did? Nothing. You know why? Because they lived in America and it was nice here, and they didn't have a support network anymore, and they liked living in the West. And you know what's happening probably with a whole bunch of these sleeper cells? Exactly the same thing, right?
What a great point. Yeah.
Right. So am I saying that nothing's going to happen? I am absolutely not saying that. But we did have an incident that is being investigated in Austin. I assume many of you are aware, but if not, and I'm not even going to try. You know me, I'm pretty good at pronouncing stuff, but this guy.
Oh, I know. Same.
There was a shooting on 6th Street in Austin. If you've ever been to Austin, that is the party district for the University of Texas. Been there, had a few drinks. It's a fun place. Okay. But this guy, Diaga Jane.
Sounds good to me.
Right.
Works for me.
So he is Senegalese and walked into a nightclub and started shooting. Killed 3, wounded 13. Eventually, the police shot and killed him. He was wearing a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah." The T-shirt underneath the sweatshirt had an Iranian flag imprinted on it. Yeah, and he had a Quran in his car. Now, any of those things individually, nobody would bat an eye. It is what it is. Put it all together and add a shooting into it, and obviously it becomes very suspect. So he is being investigated. What do I know? I know that he came here on a B2 visa in 2000. Now, E1 and B2, they fall under the 90-day rule. You can have that visa for 10 years, but every 90 days you're supposed to leave, because otherwise it seems very fraudulent that you've been here on a tourist visa for longer than 90 days.
Okay.
He did not leave. There's no record of him leaving. And in 2006, he married an American citizen, and in 2013 he became naturalized. Now, they have not released whether or not he is still married to that individual. But, he was here illegally all the way since 2000. From 2000 to 2006, he was on a B2 visa. He was here illegally. Oh, by the way, we can go back down that rabbit hole if we really want to. But that's his history. He's being fully investigated. Is he part of a sleeper cell? Probably not. Is he a radical Muslim? It looks like it on the surface. But the FBI is going to do the investigation, and they're going to find out. But I would tell you, stay alert and stay vigilant, because you just never know.
Yeah, you really don't. And, none of us, I don't think any of us should live in fear, and I think that is that's the line. We don't live in fear, but we live aware, just aware of our surroundings as best as you humanly can be. I am personally not, I never have really been. I'm not a big fan of, large events and gatherings, music festivals. And then I've been to many of them over the years. Don't get me wrong. In this day and age, particularly, certain high, I don't know, interest areas like Texas, like Florida, Washington, obviously. I personally would not be these days in attendance of, which is a really sad thing to say, and I realize that. But I think it's just simply a cautious thing to say. My daughter just mentioned a concert that she was considering going to. She's, in Florida. And I said, honey, you're an adult. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm telling you not to go. Just don't. It's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. So, probably going to be people that jump in the comments and say, yeah, you can't do that. You got to live, and do whatever you want to do. I just know what I'm not interested in doing, right now. And, yeah, I don't know. Crazy, sad, but it's like, yeah, no, I'm going to pass on all of that right now. For now.
Listen, folks, Iran was a big deal, and it's going to continue to be a big deal. So we haven't been dedicating big portions of a show to one topic, but we felt that this one was pretty important, and there was a lot of tentacles, so we dedicated quite a bit of time to it. So, I hope that this portion of the show has helped folks, inform some folks, learn some things, and at least make you a little bit, more aware of what's going on and why things are happening the way they are. But the world, there's other things going on.
There are.
Everybody's favorite president and secretary of state had to make an appearance in front of Congress last week.
Oh me, oh my. Yes, they did. And it was, what's that?
She went first, right? She
went first, yes. And that, of course, was very explosive to a degree. So the big, right out the gate, there was a big thing that a photo of her was leaked by, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Boebert. Yeah. And I guess she sent it to Benny Johnson, and he posted it, and this became a big thing. She kind of lost her, what about it. She was livid. The whole thing was halted briefly. I think there was even a question if she was going to continue. She was so angry about it, which is, honestly, to me, it's the whole thing's kind of dumb because it was going to be televised anyhow or aired anyhow. So, like, what's the big drama? To me, that seemed. Go ahead.
So here's what I would say. I think shame on Lauren Boebert for doing that.
Yeah, it was unnecessary, and it violated.
Right. It violated the agreement, which was essentially, this is a closed door testimony. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was being filmed. Yes, it was going to be released. However, she violated the terms and conditions of what Secretary Clinton agreed to,
right.
and stupidly so. So I understand, the reaction from Secretary Clinton, because if she's sending out pictures, what else is she sending out? And that really is what the concern was. So it wasn't necessarily the picture. It was the fact that she was doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing,
right.
In agreement of the testimony. So shame on Boebert for doing that. Shame on whoever it was you said she sent it to.
Yeah, I think it was Benny Johnson, I think.
Yeah, for posting it like that. All of that was dumb.
Right.
Now, did Secretary Clinton overreact? Probably. But, we expected fireworks out of her anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And she did not disappoint. She was very fired up at different key moments. We do, of course, we have one of them. So here's that.
And then how do you know Howard Lutnick?
I know Howard Lutnick because when I was senator on 9/11, the firm he headed, Cantor Fitzgerald, suffered the greatest loss of life. As I recall, something like 650 of his employees were murdered by terrorists that day. Howard Lutnick missed being a victim because he was delayed dropping his child off to kindergarten. You asked the question. I'm going to answer your question.
Now you're going to
This was what I spent my time doing.
I'm a survivor trying to look out for other survivors.
And I was taking care of the people who lost 3,000 lives.
And now you're being defiant and indignant today.
You asked me about
I have met
Howard
with Epstein
Lutnick.
survivors. I'm a survivor myself. You have emails. You've denied that you tried to get Jeffrey Epstein to give money to you.
I did
but
not.
Howard Lutnick was
If you
used
have
to
an
get money.
email with me asking Jeffrey
I
Epstein
have
for
an
money.
email from Howard Lutnick sending it to Jeffrey Epstein and his people to
I
raise
don't-
money for
I don't
you
know about-
for an event, an intimate event for you at his offices
Well,
at Cantor Fitzgerald. You're going to sit
if
here
you-
today
if you would
and,
let me
and,
finish.
and obfuscate and say to this committee, you didn't try to get money from Jeffrey
I
Epstein
didn't.
when
I
there was an
didn't.
intimate event in an email that Howard Lutnick emailed to Epstein's people and Epstein to get him to come to your intimate event at Cantor Fitzgerald, a very small event. And so I'm not going to put it. You want to yell at me, that's fine, but I'll yell right back.
Well,
okay? I am looking out for
it's
survivors.
very-
I'm doing
look-
the job that you would not do and refuse to do as Secretary of State. Thank you, and I yield back to
No,
Congresswoman.
I'm going to finish answering the question, which I have a right to do.
So, that was tense. That was tense. So, I mean,
Yeah, listen, there's all kinds of grandstanding that happened at these things. You know, we've seen it before, both in open and closed sessions of Congress. We've seen it from both parties, right? They ask the question, they don't let the person answer. They, everybody gets all offended and pissed off, and everybody starts yelling, and it's all theater. And that's what that was on both sides,
right.
right? She was setting her up. She tried to throw a softball setup question that Secretary Clinton was taking her sweet time answering, and then she turned it into something, instead of just getting to the point. So, listen, I am far from defending Secretary Clinton, but I think this all could have been conducted better in her interview, especially. They ended up asking her things about aliens. They ended up asking her all kinds of things that were very irrelevant to why she was there. And I think it was a missed opportunity to get more out of her because of some, BS grandstanding.
Yeah. Again, to echo what you said about it being theater, really, that really is a lot of what it was, because and we go through this over and over again, I just don't see anything coming of any of this. So this felt like just a big show to make it look like we're going to really put her in the hot seat and show her. But honestly, what does any of that matter if there's no arrest, if there's no criminal charges, if there's no consequence for being absolute garbage? I mean, to sit there and blatantly lie about having any kind of relationship or friendship with Epstein, and just to sit there smugly lying about it, because she knows nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. And, that's the frustrating part of all of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So while President Clinton did a much better job, and there was much more that came out of his testimony, and because of the things that he said, he put the public into well, you either have to believe me or don't. So he really kind of took his past reputation of, because they even asked him, have you lied under oath? Have you ever perjured yourself? And he said no, which they should have stopped right away. Right there.
I would have been like, excuse me, I'm sorry, what now?
Right.
What?
But he said some things that threw the left for a loop. One, he said, I've known Donald Trump for a long time, and I've talked to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has never given me any reason to believe that he has ever done anything involving Epstein ever at all. So he essentially, from his personal perspective and experience, exonerated President Trump. Okay.
Yeah, which is the wildest part about that is he did that unprompted.
Yes.
They didn't even ask him. Like, he volunteered that.
It was planned like that. He said that on purpose to set the precedent of, if you're going to believe this, then you have to believe this, right? And he did it again. This is masterful, but it's all theater. So he said that. At the same time, he threw J.B. Pritzker in the mix, whose name hadn't really been mentioned at all. Yeah. And in the great state of Illinois, where, Pritzker's trying to decide if he's going to run for president or governor again, like, he's in a bad spot right now, and he's tap dancing and trying to, get himself out of hot water with the state and with the voters, because nobody was tracking him as part of the Epstein thing until President Clinton sat down.
Right.
And then lastly, did you see him with the photos?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Talk about like Bill being Bill and creepy. Like, he is, that guy is never, ever going to change. And folks, if you didn't see it, they handed him a pile, like stapled together, of copies of photographs from the Epstein files, which I think they were photographs of him, I think, as well as other, young women and all of these other things. And, he kind of looked through and he looked way too long and he looked with way too much detail. And there was a smile on his face and like the lawyer had to reach over and take the papers away from him because it looked bad. Like he was enjoying himself.
He was enjoying it. And he absolutely was. He is a sick, sick man. And, the funny thing about comparing their two testimonies side by side, they both give an air of I don't care, but they're very different I don't cares. Yeah. Hers is arrogant, defiant, angry. I don't care. You can't touch me. And his is like, I don't care. I'll burn it all down. Doesn't make a difference to me. Whatever. Yeah. Right? Like very different. Both saying I don't show, giving I don't care. Very different versions of I don't care. And odd question. Maybe this is something I should already know. Does he, or is it public does he have Parkinson's?
So I thought the same thing because he's very, very shaky.
So shaky. And it didn't look like nerves. I don't think he was nervous at all.
No, it's not nerves, but I don't know of any public diagnosis of Parkinson's. Folks, if you know something that we're not tracking, please put it in the comments.
Yeah, chime in. Just curious.
I thought exactly the same thing. He's approaching 80. I think he turns 80 later this year.
Yeah.
And I think that it may be just a sign of age, but it certainly did look like Parkinson's.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It was the early stages of Parkinson's.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was, if you were watching, you certainly couldn't miss it. So it's like, did we not, did I miss a public diagnosis of something? But, again, and kind of the reason I'm asking is, if he's got something, like you said, the guy's pushing 80, if he's not 80 already, he's already elderly. If he's got something terminal, all the more for he could care less what comes out at this point. Does not matter one lick to him because he probably is like, I'm not long for this world anyhow, so do what you got to do. I don't care. So either way, they are still, in my opinion, two of the most deplorable, wretched, awful people who have ever served. And I can't, I just, that's all I got on that one. They are just gross humans who are going to get away with it.
Yeah, you're right. And they are. And I think also President Clinton, with the whole exoneration, whatever you want to call it, whatever his statement about President Trump, whatever the purpose was, he also made it very much look like it's a boys' club. In other words, that very super exclusive. What are we down? We're down to 5 living presidents right now.
Yeah.
Right? You've got Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, and Clinton, right?
Yeah.
So it's those 5. So it's pretty much the most exclusive club in the world. And Clinton still runs by the old rules of, listen, we don't talk about each other out of school, right? And him and W are about the only ones who kind of follow those old rules. And that's why those two get along, truthfully.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're right. They're awful people. And so, but he did make it look a little bit like, well, we're all in it together, because look, Trump didn't say anything. He's with me kind of deal. But, they are relevant in the sense that he is a former president. She's a former Secretary of State. You know who's not relevant, and yet we keep asking her flippant opinion on stuff? Megan Rapinoe. Why do we keep talking to this woman?
Why? I find her to be insufferable. Like she truly is. The minute this girl opens her mouth, listen, am I alone in this? Here it is. You guys tell me.
That ratchet phone call that had nothing to do with you, and that said nothing about you. And the thing that I took was like immediately, I was like, oh, I know how I feel about them, though.
I feel like she's stoned.
Everybody who watched that clip or saw that moment said, hell no. Like, you might not be for everybody, whatever, but you're for us. You're ours.
All right, I'm done listening to her. I'm already done listening to her. I just can't. I can't.
So folks, she's talking about the phone, specifically the phone call between President Trump and the U.S. men's hockey team. The environment of the locker room, Kash Patel being there, jokes that the president made. And listen, Megan Rapinoe hates all men. Period. She hates all men. And she specifically hates all conservative men.
Yes.
Period. And for whatever reason, she is a retired soccer player that honestly, and again, I'm going to say this, I'm going to get criticism. I'm a football guy, football, soccer guy. if you go back and you look at the tail end of her career where she got the most amount of fame, she was well past her prime and truthfully not a very good player.
Right.
And people who are honest with themselves and don't get blinded by all the LGBTQ crap will say the same thing. Yeah. Regardless, we don't need to be talking to her anymore.
No.
Especially when it comes to politics, because her opinion is 100% irrelevant. Is she an American citizen? Sure. Is her opinion as valid or as mine is? I guess so, yes. But like, I don't know who keeps sticking a microphone in front of her.
I honestly don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it at all. It's not like she's I mean, you just saw it. She's not particularly especially articulate. She does not offer any great, profound insights on anything. She's just obnoxious.
So blatantly biased. Like there is not, she doesn't even possess the capability to be objective. Like it's not there. Whatever that ability, whatever you want to call it, whether it's genetic or learned or whatever, she doesn't have it. It's gone.
Yeah.
And she lives in an echo chamber. The people that surround her are exactly like her. And nobody holds her accountable. Truthfully.
Yeah.
They keep inviting her. They keep asking her. They keep shoving a microphone in front of her, and she keeps talking. There's actually another version of that same kind of rhetoric. She's doing an interview, and she's got like a beanie cap on top of her head, and she's got headphones on, and she looks like a cartoon character. So that one is another example of the same thing.
Yeah,
that's out there. And I know that Megyn Kelly, who I'm less and less a fan of by the day. Megyn Kelly went after her for the same thing. But like, seriously, people, stop listening to this woman. She is brainwashed. She is not educated. She's not informed, and she's horribly biased.
She's just basically a mean girl with a microphone. She's just a mean girl. Like, honestly.
Did you run into a mean girl this week?
Clay, I did. Listen, I run into mean girls on a fairly regular basis, I think. I mean, I think I do, because I do like these quick spot checks in the comment sections, and I try to, I've talked to us, and I apologize to you guys who have heard me say this before. But for those of you that don't know, I have said many times over the past few years that I look into the comment sections less and less and less over the years. And it's not because I don't care. It's because, well, I mean, maybe a little bit it is. There's no benefit. It does no good for me to be looking in the comment sections, whether they are compliments or insults. Either way, I need to stay very, very focused on what I consider my mission, my goal, my purpose, my view is only in one place, and there's only truly one opinion that I am working for, and that is hopefully obvious to everyone. That is for the Lord. So I am not going to focus my eyes and my intention and my heart on the comments, the things that people say to and about me. Does that mean I don't see them? I see them, guys. You guys know that, because every once in a while, maybe like once every couple of weeks, I will pick one that I happen to come across. I usually will scroll like the first, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 comments and try and give some kind of response or reaction. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. I mostly ignore the negative ones. But this one popped up, and it was so unnecessary. Young lady or old lady, I can't really tell for sure. But she called me, what was it? Botox filled hoe. And she spelled it just the way I said it. It was HEOUX.
AUX. It's like
AUX. Thank you. Who.
The Louisiana version of the word.
Yes. Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm going to give her credit for it. I honestly am, because I thought that was a brilliant spelling choice of the word. I thought it was actually very, very funny, very entertaining. However, listen, she's calling me. So first of all, she's calling me a Botox filled hoe. It's just funny. I got to laugh about it. Now, when I do actually decide to take a look at a comment, I will do what anybody would do, which is automatically go to their profile. It's a surprise. She has like maybe 5 followers, and she has this, and I think her profile is set to private, so you can't like see any of her posts, which is another thing they love to do, because so that you can't say anything back to them. And her profile picture, listen, to each their own. I don't women bash. I try not to. Listen, her blouse is like almost all the way down, as low as you can go on your blouse, and exposing as much as you can without getting like a pornography rating or something. Is that a thing? I don't even know. So I'm like, and then there's my picture, which I'm like, I'm literally wearing something that's like up to my neck, as conservative as you can possibly get. Not an inch of skin other than my face, my Botox filled face, is showing. So I merely ask, who might the hoe be here, my love? Who might it be based on that? But whatever. So I would like to make a correction for her. I don't use Botox. I use Xeomin. It's actually better quality. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. I'm sorry that she does. I'm sorry for her. She maybe would benefit from it. Is that a dig? It's not. I think if you would like to, lift things and keep them smooth and unwrinkled, unlined, I don't know why we're criticizing people for doing that. But if, to each their own. But anyhow, my dear, you don't have to be a mean girl. So unnecessary. So unnecessary, especially when like the retaliation is so easy. Like you can't, don't give me things like that, because I can't. I always say it, Clay, I'm a baby Christian. I still got a lot of growing to do, and there's still a lot of me left in me. So,
well, it was your turn. I think I had the last 2 strays. So the last 2 were mine. It was about time to roll around to you. It's okay. We laugh about it. It's entertaining.
It's totally fine. Listen, y'all can't, and it's funny. I actually just made a video, not about that specifically, but about that concept, because I had, I think it was either my mother or my husband, or both of them actually said, I don't know how you do my mother's voice. I don't know how you do it, because I just want to get in those comment sections and tell people, that this and that, and really give it to them. I'm like, the rules. Stay out of the comment section, Mom. Do not read the comments, and most definitely do not respond to them, because if they come from me, it's fine. If they come from people I love and I care about, then I will lose all the things that I've worked so hard to behave like and be mindful of, and I will go full ratchet psychopath. So please don't.
It's all over again.
Exactly. Like, don't make me,
scratch.
Yes. So it's all fine. I don't mind it. It never bothers me. I don't take anything personally. And the minute, and that's a little advice for anyone who struggles with that, take nothing personally. Nothing. Because even if they're saying personal things, it actually has nothing to do with you. That is all something with them. And that's, what is the saying? Happy people don't hurt or try to hurt other people. So this is all about them and some deep, dissatisfaction in themselves. So so that's that. It is funny. I love when they do it, because it gives us something to chuckle about over here. And we had a good laugh about it. So oh my goodness. All right, Clay, you get the honors. You know the deal.
Hey folks, just remember, President Biden told Iran don't. Kamala Harris told Iran don't. And President Trump said, that's not working. And so we took action. So it is what it is. It works. She could be president. Yeah. All right, folks, we appreciate it. Hey, we want to thank you guys, because we learned last week that we have had 50,000 audio downloads. 50,000. Yes. And that's
crazy.
We love you guys. We wouldn't do this. We do this for you. We love doing it, but that's huge for us. We super appreciate the 50,000 downloads. That's pretty awesome. We love you guys, and thanks for tuning in. Stay in the comments section, stay active. You never know, we'll make you famous. And from me, as always, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys. See you next week.
The headlines will change by tomorrow, but the patterns won't. Thanks for spending this time with us. We'll be back to keep asking the harder questions and telling the quieter truths. Until then, stay grounded, be discerning, and we'll see you next time.